All right, guys, we're going to be talking about Game of Thrones Season 2, Episode 5, called The Ghost of Harrenhal. So, let's just start at the beginning because your reaction was really strong and it was hilarious. So, we're going to talk about the opening scene of Renly and Catelyn talking. Where did you think that scene was going? Let's just start like that.
I thought so. It was actually they were setting up something really interesting
Yeah.
where Renly has proposed these terms. He will fight alongside Rob and allow him to proclaim himself the king of the North as long as he pledges fealty to Renly. And Catelyn, she actually would have preferred that they. Oh, he was gonna go. Because she wanted to know how she could know he would keep his word about
Mm.
this. And he says one of the conditions of my side of this deal is I will take out Stannis and his army, and I will do that by the morning. And Catelyn's like, you know what? Don't go fight Stannis. That just seems unnecessary. Just come back to
The North,
the North
basically, yeah.
and help us with these Lannisters.
These Lannisters, like they're an infestation
They are.
or
They're,
something.
they're pests. Help us with these Lannisters. So, he is standing with his back toward Catelyn, and he's again just letting her know, take these turns back to Rob, let him know what's going on, and I'm going to take care of Stannis and his army, and we're going to be cool. Well, we see this wind effect
Hmm.
hitting the walls of this tent, and I'm thinking, and it's funny because there's this trope in TV shows and movies, and it says, "If I'm wrong, may God strike me down right now." That's kind of what happened. Ridley's talking all this big talk, and he's like, "No one's gonna stop me. It's all good." And then evil just appears.
Evil just
Evil just
appears.
appears, and it's rattling the sheets of the tent, and then you see this black fog coming under through the doorway of the tent, and I'm like, "Wait a minute! I just saw this somewhere. What is this?" And then we see it slither across the room, and it blankets the floor, and then it forms a person figure behind Renly, and I'm like, no, but I mean that's what it's gonna do, but no, why? So this figure that Melisandre had given birth to in the previous episode,
Yeah.
has now assassinated Renly,
Yeah.
stabbed him in the back, and I would really appreciate if the show would stop killing off the Baratheons.
So that's such a great thing for you to say, because as we were getting to know Renly and as you were coming to like Renly a little bit more, I felt bad because I was just like, oh, because I knew how you felt about Robert dying and how you felt like that was too early, and I was like, oh man, he's gonna have to go through that again really soon with Renly.
It's the worst because it's even worse with Renly because, and I said this in the last review, but this character is so much different than our first interaction
Yeah.
with him. So like, yeah, I want to know this guy.
Yeah.
I want to see him go fight Stannis.
Yeah.
And do whatever it is he wants to
And
do.
like it sucks because Stannis just like takes the easy way out and uses magic to like assassinate him.
And we'll get to
like
this, and I've got some words to say about that situation
Yeah.
too. But again, Robert, well, at least this was a much more ceremonious death, I
Okay.
guess. Robert got impaled by a boar. I'm still not over that. And I know they're huge animals, but whatever.
Yeah.
But at least he, like, it seems as though, anyway, it was a part of the show, and there was a reason. And
Yeah.
what I saw kill Renly, it made sense that it killed him.
Yeah. because we had seen it be birthed,
Right.
and like we had seen other players like making moves that caused that to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but I still don't like it. Are there any Baratheons left besides Stannis?
Stannis is the only Baratheon left.
Ah,
So I guess you get to learn to love Stannis now.
I guess. Jeez.
So I'm glad that we were on that, because right after Robert dies, the same sort of thing happens with Renly. Like right after Robert dies, everything changes completely. For the entire show. This was a little bit smaller scale as far as like the changes go, but immediately after Renly's death, we see all of his bannermen leave and flock to Stannis, and then we see Stannis, who seems to be planning an attack on King's Landing. And we see even later Tyrion and Cersei talking about how Stannis is becoming a more imminent threat now that he has Renly's numbers. Right. So it's interesting to see that even though these deaths suck, it's interesting to see how just one character dying can change like the entire momentum of like several storylines, you know.
I'm still not okay with it.
So speaking of people who aren't okay with it, let's talk about Loras's reaction, because we see that pretty quickly afterward. What did you think about that, and what did you think about like Littlefinger trying to manipulate that situation?
I still don't care about Loras.
Gotcha.
I mean, especially now that Renly's dead, I don't know what he's doing.
Okay.
Now, as far as his reaction to the death, it makes sense that it was an emotional one and an extreme one, because that was his lover.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he would be a great king, and he probably believed all of those things. And I'm not necessarily saying that he is wrong or would have been wrong. It's just the only thing that I cared about your presence here is your relationship with Renly, and how you fit into whatever was going to be happening, with Renly leading that particular timeline. So now that Renly is dead, there's this person who's upset and crying. Now, he's vengeful also. He says he wants to stab Stannis in the face. He wants to kill Stannis for killing Renly. A bunch of people want to do that. So you're not special in that regard. So if he has something else to offer, I haven't seen it yet.
Gotcha. Interesting. So, so let's talk about the other end of that, with Littlefinger coming in and trying to manipulate that situation. Because he pounced on that pretty quickly. And what do you think he's trying to get them to do?
I don't know, because that conversation parallels to Brienne and Catelyn's conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you can't avenge Renly by dying.
Yeah.
They both say that.
Yeah.
Or Littlefinger says that and Catelyn says that. So, Littlefinger has some plan for Loras, I guess. But then my question becomes, who is Loras and what can he do? Because why does Littlefinger need him?
They haven't really talked to us enough about the Tyrells as a family yet. Gotcha. So I think that that's really the reason you don't understand that. And so it's okay that you don't understand that stuff. And so then, like, another part of that conversation was this really good conversation with Marjorie that I really enjoyed, where, like, one of my favorite lines from the show, honestly, and this is saying a lot because we're only in season 2, and also another one from Catelyn in season 1 where she says we're gonna kill them all.
Oh, right.
Like, I loved that so much. So my favorite lines are very spread out throughout the entire show. But one of my favorite lines was when Marjorie said, where Littlefinger asks her, do you want to be a queen? Mm-hmm. And she says, no, I want to be the queen.
Right.
And I just loved that. Like, every line that Marjorie delivers, I feel like speaks volumes to her character and who she is as a person, because she's not messing around. Like, she's not at all. And Loras was in love. And what Loras and Renly were doing was, like, they were having this relationship, but Marjorie was just trying to be the queen.
Right.
And so she was like, I don't care about any of this other stuff that's happening. I want to be queen. I want to sit, like, at least as close to the Iron Throne as I can get. And so...
And that's what I thought she meant. She wanted to be on the Iron Throne. She wanted to be queen of the Seven Kingdoms.
So you thought she didn't want to be the king's wife. She wants to be the actual queen? Right. Or do you want to... Oh, okay,
no,
gotcha.
I thought she meant she wanted to sit on the Iron Throne.
But not sit next to the king.
Right. on
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
as
Oh,
the
okay.
ruler.
I
That's what I thought
see.
she
I
meant.
see.
Yeah.
No, I like that. I like that because that's like Marjorie is so she kind of came out of nowhere, but she came out of nowhere with like a lot of
Oh
ambition,
yeah.
and I like that about her a lot.
Now
Um.
it may get fleshed out, but I need to know more about why she deserves this. Like, why does she have this feeling?
Oh, why does she think that she? Because
Yes,
like, so do you get the same feeling from Daenerys though? And we'll talk about her later.
I
But
know
like,
more about
do
her.
you? Oh, okay.
Now,
Because like she kind of just she has this idea that she deserves it because it was her father's at one point. But I just wanted to know if that's how you feel about Marjorie
yeah,
too. Oh, okay, gotcha. Because yeah, I with Marjorie, it is a lot different because the Marjorie's like lust for power is reminiscent of the Lannisters, but she just like isn't having sex with her brother and isn't evil.
right,
Like so, I mean, that's I think that that's just the main
fair
difference.
enough.
But I mean, that's how I see it, anyways. But let's move on over to Cersei and Tyrion,
Hmm.
because right after Marjorie and Loras have that conversation, it pans over to Cersei, and she's ecstatic because she's like, sweet, one of these kings is dead. We're like totally golden
Hmm.
now. Like Joffrey's gonna survive, and Joffrey's the only thing in the world that
Right.
matters. So, but Tyrion, on the other hand, is like, you do understand that because Renly is dead, that means that Stannis has all of these extra forces now. So the threat is actually more imminent. But Cersei's just like does not understand that at
Right.
all. So let's just talk about that scene.
So here's what I got from that scene. Cersei, yes, was ecstatic. She was happy, but she was also drunk. So she wasn't thinking straight. Period.
What made
And
you think she was drunk and not just drinking?
because the way she was talking,
Oh,
the way
gotcha.
she was walking, the way she was smiling. There's no way somber Cersei, or sober Cersei, looks like that. I'm sorry. It's like there was pure joy in her face,
Yeah.
and she doesn't have any of that.
Yeah. Okay, that
So
makes sense.
she was definitely a little intoxicated, and we see Tyrion bring that wine goblet, and
Yeah.
she pours another glass for herself.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So she's working on at least more than one glass of wine. She's definitely not in her right mindset. So she's a bit giggly, and she's not paying attention to whatever it is that Tyrion is saying, and he is trying to come up with a plan for how to defend themselves from Stannis and this ever-growing army that he had, and he doesn't even know about Melisandre. So he's trying to get Cersei to tell him how they are going to proceed and um, talk with him about it. And Cersei says, Joffrey's going to take care of this. Don't worry about it. He's got plans. And Tyrion's like, well, what are those plans? Because I don't trust a 13-year-old kid to
Hmm.
call a war. And Cersei says, something to the effect of, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
The king reserves the right to hold military secrets from his council.
Yeah.
And Tyrion storms off at that point.
And before we continue, it's so funny to hear the way that she talks about Joffrey, because she says like, these are Joffrey's plans. This is what Joffrey's gonna do, and she's really just saying these are my
Yeah,
plans, and this
and
is
yeah,
what I'm gonna
we'll
do.
learn in a minute
Like,
that they're her plans, but she's not going to tell Tyrion that. So yeah, Cersei, I think she believes that, like as you said, one more of these people are down.
mm,
So I've only got three left.
yeah,
They're easy. It's easier than four. It's less than that
exactly.
number, and I'm a
Yeah,
little drunk, so that's all that matters.
exactly.
Three is less than four. So,
Uh-huh. Remember that lesson Robert gave her of like which number is bigger?
right.
That's what she's thinking about right now.
So, um, she's got this plan. Create this elixir. It's called a dragon wind.
No, wildfire.
Wildfire.
Where did you get dragon
I
wind
have
from?
no idea.
That's awesome. Well, let's just call
That's in the show.
let's just call it dragon wind from now on.
It's dragon wind now.
People are not going to
They're
be
not
happy
gonna
about
like
that.
She's creating this stuff called what?
Wildfire.
Wildfire. And she's got these pyromancers working on this. And Tyrion asks, like, how do you know that? When did Cersei tell you? And Lancel says, she didn't tell me. I just overheard it. And then last night she went to go meet with this pyromancer. So then he kicks literally Lancel out of. So they're in this carriage that's probably 4 feet tall and looks like a Barbie house, and it's sitting on the ground. I know you've seen the show already, but it's hilarious to me because it's fitting.
The fact that it's like the fact that it wasn't being held by anyone,
Right.
like the fact that it was just sitting there on the ground, is what made it so funny. And when he falls out of it and just falls on the ground because he like was already on the ground, like it's
and
just
Braun is standing next to it, 4 feet above it.
it's so funny how the show can like sneak in these little, they're not necessarily jokes, they're not jokes at the expense of little people,
Yeah.
but they're just like, yes, Tyrion is a little person,
Right.
and he has a little carriage, like
So funny. I thought that was hilarious. So at this point,
although I don't know why he couldn't just have a normal sized carriage though. Like did Cersei just give him that as a joke or something?
He
Like
got it for himself as a joke. He was like, "Yeah, I'm a little person." He says that in the first episode. I think like I don't require large.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
that.
true. He did say that.
So at this point, are they headed to the pyromancer? Or
yes, that's when they find out they need to go to the pyromancer.
But are we gonna?
Yeah.
So they get to the pyromancer, and Braun is a little skeptical of this. What's it called?
Wildfire.
This wildfire. He just doesn't believe in the magic, basically. And the pyromancer says to them, "Hey, this stuff is real. It's pretty powerful, and it's so powerful that once all the dragons died, the Targaryens used this to fight further wars."
Yeah, I'm glad that you remembered that, because it shows you a little bit about like the reality of people forgetting that dragons were a thing, and people like really understanding that they used to just be everywhere. Because like with the people that Daenerys are with in particular, like they're like, oh, we want to see these dragons because it's like a huge deal.
Right.
And like I think even Bran was talking about this with Asha the Wildling, about how dragons have been gone forever and whatever. And so it's interesting that the show tells us like how the Targaryen family dealt with that, with the loss of their dragons, and how they didn't like just lose their fire identity because the dragons were gone.
So however, whatever this recipe was for this
wildfire. Come on, it's not that hard.
I keep trying to I want to call it dragon wing.
I don't know where you got that from.
So every time it comes to mind like dragon, it's not dragon wing, so I forget what it is. Wildfire. It's been passed down through the generations, and Cersei, it is revealed, that has been asking these pyromancers to create tons and tons and tons of this stuff.
I think he said they had like 7,000 stores of it.
And the plan is to put them on catapults and launch them at Stannis' army. And it's so powerful that it melts literally everything.
Yeah.
It's listed all the minerals on the earth and it just melts it. So they are walking down into the basement of this workshop where they're in, and the pyromancer opens up the door to show Tyrion and Bronn how much 7,000 of these jars looks like. And Tyrion looks... Oh, before that, Bronn provides a little logic to this whole situation. And he says, if we're going to be shooting this stuff at Stannis, he's also going to be shooting this stuff at us.
Yeah.
We have soldiers fighting this war. Men.
Wait, he thought that Stannis was going to have wildfire? I might have missed that.
No, he just said stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
Illustrating that the men being fired upon by Stannis were going to be fumbling around.
They might like drop it or something.
That's exactly
yeah.
what he said.
Yeah.
They're going to drop it and then burn all of us to the
ground. Yeah.
And then we open up to see how much 7,000 of these jars look like. And Tyrion realizes, oh, you're right, Bronn. We can't just let anybody have this stuff.
Yeah.
Let's handle it. So I'm going to take over this operation, basically. Keep making this stuff, but don't give any of it to Cersei. You're not making this for Cersei anymore. You're making it for me, and I'm going to control how it gets used. There was legitimate concern on Tyrion's face when he
right?
saw all
When
that
he
stuff.
saw that, he said like this stuff could lay King's
Yeah.
Landing low, and so it was just interesting because it's like we all we were talking about, I think in the last review you were talking about how you felt like there was no threat to Joffrey and you like didn't know how Joffrey could be taken out. And like in this episode they present a way that the entire city of King's
Right.
Landing could be taken out.
Jeez.
So
And it's Cersei's fault? Like, really?
okay, but what isn't Cersei's
That's
fault?
true.
Like
But
pushing
it's just
Bran.
ironic is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Like I mean, I like to think about the fact that when you really think about it, like this entire war is Cersei and Jaime.
Mhm.
Like it's literally, I mean, or you could blame it on Bran. There are a lot of people who say it's Bran's fault, and it's like Bran was just hanging out at his house.
Really?
Like
Don't talk bad about my boy. Stop it.
I really don't know why people don't like Bran, but yeah,
Have
there
fun.
there are certain people who are just like, if Bran just had listened to Catelyn, then none of this would have happened. I'm just like, really? He's like 10.
Wait. So all the way before that, when she says, "Don't go climbing on things, don't be a child," he wouldn't have died
Right.
or gotten thrown out of a window.
Yeah.
That's a stretch. That's a stretch.
But people make that stretch though.
Oh goodness.
Oh man. Okay, so after that, we then go and see Stannis. And so this is like now that Renly's gone, we're getting a little bit more of Stannis' point of view on everything. And we see Davos they're preparing for the attack on King's Landing. So it turns out Tyrion is right. There is a threat coming. So they're preparing for this attack, but Davos wants to warn Stannis, and he tells him that he has to tell him a hard truth. And he's like, Melisandre is leading you like into the darkness. Like this might have helped you just now, but like she has some evil magic, and like you need to be careful because like even if it puts you on the Iron Throne, what are you gonna do with her after that? Like, and also there are people who think that she's like your puppet master basically. Right. And so Stannis is like, okay, like I hear that, but this is working basically. And so he kind of disregards it. And what was the hard truth that he tells back to him? He says
he gives him command of this army that he wants to go to this specific battlefield, and I don't remember where it was. And Davos says, I haven't really commanded a ship in 15 or so years. And my main skill was running away from ships, not attacking them.
Yeah.
And Stannis replies...
Stannis. We
so
are not watching a Marvel movie.
That's not it. It's just...
It literally sounds like you're trying to say Thanos every time.
Stannis says to him, those men... Davos says, that's why. Davos, and then I want to say Stannos.
Oh, that makes sense. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Davos says, those men would be upset having me as a captain because I haven't really done much in that area. And Stannis says back to him, those men should be lucky that I haven't hung them for treason.
Oh, gotcha.
So he's sending them to this place where he doesn't really care what happens to them.
I
see. He's also saying the same thing about Davos for saying what he said to him.
That makes sense.
Because he's going against his will and trying to take sides with Melisandre.
So what did all of that make you think of Stannis as an updated opinion, I guess?
It's not. It's the same. It's literally what we were talking about. Because he's feigning ignorance about what Davos is saying.
Yeah.
Now, he conceded and said, Melisandre, she won't come this time. But that's not what he believes.
Yeah.
He just wants Davos to stop talking to him.
Yeah.
Now, he may have taken a little mental note of what Davos was saying, but in the end, he really believes that Melisandre is going to help him, and he's going to pay whatever price that is.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same as what we were talking about in the previous episode. Also, though, what I found more interesting about that conversation, and I don't know if this parallel has been made already, but doesn't Melisandre sound like Daenerys?
What do you mean?
She's an outsider.
Okay.
With this magic force.
Yeah.
That comes into this people's lives, destroys it basically, and changes everything.
Okay.
Is that not what Daenerys is doing? Has done.
Okay.
Except the malicious part of it.
Yeah. Oh, so she's it's kind of like she's a foil to a certain
Right.
extent. Yeah, yeah, I can totally see that. And we'll get more into that when we talk
Yeah.
about Daenerys. But yeah, like, and I this is gonna get into like a little bit of like the history
Mm.
of everything. But the Targaryens, like Westeros has been around for thousands and thousands of years. The Targaryens showed up like 300 years before what we're watching. So, but like the Starks, the Lannisters, like the Tyrells, like these families were all there for a long
Mm.
time. And Daenerys's family showed up like relatively like very recently actually, and united Westeros as like a single thing. They were all kind of their independent kingdoms before that. And so it's interesting that you would make that point because that's what like the entirety of King's Landing is, like all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff is just like a Targaryen invasion pretty much.
Mm.
And so it's interesting to see that how this like magic force that is Daenerys, and kind of like similarly with
Mm.
Melisandre, like these forces coming into Westeros that kind of conflict with
Yeah.
how things are done.
Yeah. It's also interesting because there was also a Davos in uh, the Dothraki land. Like one of Drogo's advisors said those exact
Yeah, yeah.
words. And
I mean, he was a little bit harsher
oh,
about
right,
it,
right,
but
right.
yeah,
But I
it
just
was the
saw,
same
I
point.
just
Yeah,
saw the same scene.
yeah, that's super interesting. That's a really good
And
point.
I also found it funny that Davos told this truth too late.
Yeah.
Remember, he was confronted by that maester
Mm,
who told him to tell him this truth,
yeah.
and Davos was like, "What is that truth?" But now he knows what it is.
Oh, yeah, because he didn't really know. I mean, like, it's interesting because like it's literally they had the same exact
Mm-hmm.
conversation. Like that guy who got burned for treason before, or I don't know if they burned him,
Poison.
poison. Yeah.
He
That guy
poisoned
who,
himself trying to kill
yeah,
Melisandre.
yeah, yeah. That guy who went through all of that, like he was basically like telling them like, and I think I don't know if Davos believes the exact same thing because that guy was like they're forsaking the faith of the
Right,
seven
right,
and
right,
blah
right.
blah blah. I don't think Davos cares about the faith of the seven, but he knows that this magic or this god or whatever it is not a good thing at
Right.
the end of the day. Like it's helping right now and it looks like it's a good thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's like you said, like it is very interesting to see him trying to tell that exact same truth that someone tried to tell him
Right.
before. So yeah, that's really cool. But yeah, so overall, still not really a fan of Stannis,
No,
is what it
not at
sounds
all.
like. That I'm actually really relieved by that because when we first started watching the show, like when we were back in Winterfell and
Mm.
everything was fine, I was like, I think Mark's gonna like Stannis, and I was just like not happy about it.
He's to me, he's a fool, and I that character type, just in stories in general, just always annoys me.
Oh, okay. Because see, the thing is, like, I don't know if I've necessarily seen that character type. I'm sure I have, but I can't like concretely compare him
Fair
to
enough.
anyone. But I do understand what you're saying of like the person who is just sort of like sitting by while like another person pulls the
Yeah.
strings on them, basically. Yeah, yeah, totally. Because I mean, there are a lot of examples of that in this show. Like anyone who has like the like a hand, so
Mm.
like the king. Cersei and Joffrey or Ned and Robert.
Mm.
Like that sort of dynamic just exists in this show, but it's not always with someone who is so far left
Right.
that as Melisandre
And I
is, you
think
know.
I could be, and I've said this before, but it may be that I'm being unfair to the show. The reason that I believe he's a fool is because he's this magic
Yeah.
person. Like, why would you try to trust that? It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, if like with any other person being having their strings pulled by another average
Because it's
person,
part of the
it'd be the
social
same.
structure
Yeah,
of that
I'd be
society.
okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. But yeah, like she's this person that not only does no one else around him know anything about, but he also doesn't
Right.
know anything about. And so it's like he's putting all of his I don't know if he has faith in her, but he's putting all of his
It's
trust.
a turn of phrase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but he's putting all of his stock into this one person, and it's interesting that you can see right now like some of the things that you're seeing because like I don't know. It's just when I was first watching Stannis, I guess I kind of just thought he was just as crazy as she was, but I don't actually think that this time around.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
not what
think
it
he's
look. That's not
crazy,
what it
no.
looks like. And she doesn't necessarily seem crazy. It's just she's involved with something that is just so out there,
Right.
you know. But anyways, so yeah, that's Stannis. That's the update on Stannis. So as far like just in general though, like has the sheer amount of characters and settings and storylines and stuff, has that gotten more easy for you to like manage and follow along with?
It's easier.
Yeah.
It's easier. That's it. It's easier than when I first watched the first episode.
It's not on legendary
No.
anymore. We're on heroic.
No, we're on normal. There's easy, normal, heroic, and legendary. We're on normal.
That is so funny. Okay. So then the next thing that we see is we see Arya. Well, we see Tywin first. And Tywin is dealing with this council of people basically. And they're talking about how Robb is winning all of these battles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super awful for the Lannisters.
Right.
And so basically he says like a really good line he says is we've been waiting for him to fail. He's not going to fail without our help.
Right.
And then he turns to Arya and he asks her, he's like, where are you from? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And she lies and she says that she's from this southern town. And he's like, no, you're not. You don't even know their like sigil or like their bannermen or whatever, their lords. And she's like, fine, I'm from Barrowton, this place in the north. And he's like, good. What do you think of Robb, basically? And she lists all of these things, which goes back into what we were talking about like the mythical status of these battles, about how he rides into a battle on his wolf. He can turn into a wolf if he wants to, which like we have a pretty good idea that he can't do. But still, they haven't not just because they haven't shown us. That doesn't mean he hasn't been turned into a wolf.
Here's the thing. Here's why that was cool, because Tywin also understood that this was just a folktale.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh yeah, that's probably what they would say.
Exactly. But it's just still cool that like that the imagination of like the lower class, I guess, and like how, because I think you made a good point, because like the high lords like Tywin or Tyrion or whatever would hear a story like that and be like, okay, we are seasoned in war, we know that stuff doesn't happen. But like it's interesting that they show that discrepancy between like normal people and the people who are like in charge, who are playing this game, you know. And I just thought that was really cool. But so then Tywin asks Arya, he's like, so Arya says like, they say that they call him the young wolf and they say he can't be killed. And he says, Tywin says, do you believe that? And she's like, no. And then Tywin's like, good, I'm glad this northern girl that doesn't have these high hopes. And she's like, anybody can be killed. And I was just like, yes. Yes.
So here's what I've gathered. Arya is gonna find needles and stick it in Tywin's eyeball through his brain. I'm down with it. Let's just make it happen.
And so then like we see Tywin just give her this look that is just like, he's just like, gosh, why am I talking to this girl?
No, that's not what it was. It was, what did she just say to me?
Yeah.
There was some subtext in there.
Yeah. And it was also,
who are you?
Yeah, that too. He wanted to know like, why would she have the nerve to say something like that? And also I think there was an element of it of like, wow, I just kind of got like owned in front of this little girl, in front of all of my counselors and stuff. And so that was just like a really interesting moment. And Arya was just like, yeah, you gonna kill me? Fine. My life sucks already anyways.
And my brother can't be killed. So.
Right. It's like, I walked in here to be your cupbearer knowing full well I might become a hostage after 5 minutes. And I've already been a hostage by your family anyways. So yeah, all of that, like all of the like underlying, like the subconscious subtextual like part of that whole scene was just so funny. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where that goes, because like Tywin was literally just like, he looks like someone that just like talking about hard truths, man.
Right. That was his hard truth.
But yeah, so anyways, then we see Arya go outside, and this man walks up to her, and we're like, "Who is this guy?" I don't know if you were confused,
I
but
wasn't.
did you remember him?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because I think when I didn't really like what like Arya's story was never like super interesting to me, and so when that guy popped up, I was like, it took me a while to register that he was the guy that she saved.
Right.
And so, what did you think about that scene? And like, were obviously that was like way out of left field, like what he offered her, and just like all of that played out. So let's just talk about
The
that.
reason that I remembered him is because of the fact she saved him.
Yeah,
And the show made a point to tell us that
yeah,
she did it.
that's
It's
true.
like, why do we care about these three people? So that's what they.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for them to come back.
Oh,
basically.
okay, gotcha. Because yeah, if she hadn't like, maybe if she had let them out and not spoken to them,
Right.
but like the fact that she like actually had this dialogue with him, it
And
made
there
it
were a
seem
couple
like
of times where there were glances.
yeah.
Like, the show would focus on these people
Yeah,
in these
yeah,
cages, and I would always ask, why are they in
It's
there?
good that you are picking up on like the cues that the show is doing, because like I mean all TV does this, but like Game of Thrones is really good at just like panning to a shot really quick, and that's going to be important in like 5 episodes.
Right.
So I'm glad that you're picking up on stuff like
So yeah,
that.
it was very strange that they kept appearing, and now we understand why. Well, I'm gonna try to articulate why I believe they're important.
Yeah.
So, he actually was really creepy.
Yeah.
The way he approaches her,
Mhm.
because I thought he was about to rape her,
Oh, okay.
and because he keeps saying
He came across as hostile to you
a
at
little bit.
first?
Here's
Okay.
why though. He kept saying girls keep secrets. This boy who became a girl, but now girls keep secrets. Girls keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
And you don't want anybody to know you're a girl.
Oh, you thought he was like propositioning
Yeah,
her.
I thought he was saying you're gonna have sex with me, or I'm gonna tell everybody you're a girl.
Ah,
And then
wow.
it's gonna go
Your
downhill.
mind went dark really quick.
This show is dark. No, don't put that on me.
That's true.
Like,
That's a really
you
good point.
You can't say the show wouldn't do that.
After what we saw from Sansa the last time we saw her,
right? And the whores.
Yeah,
on.
that's true. That's true.
So that's what I thought. That's
Yeah.
where I thought it was going. But what he says is basically, "Thank you for saving me."
Hmm.
And he called it the Red God.
Yeah.
The Red God. One of the philosophies is only death can pay for life. Is that what he said, or is it the other way? Only life can pay for death.
Yeah, but
No, I'm getting that.
Okay.
Only death can pay for life. You saved me and my two buddies from this burning fire, this death. We were going to die.
Yeah.
You robbed this Red God of these 3 deaths.
Hmm.
So now we need to take 3 lives to pay this back.
Yeah.
And Arya's like, "Whoa, buddy." What are you saying? And he goes on to say, "Give me 3 names. And whoever you want to die, give me those 3 names. We will kill them, and everything will be even."
Yeah.
And Arya's like, "What?" Hold on. I can just name any 3 people.
Right.
And you're going to kill them. And like, that's what I said. Give me a name. So she wants her first. So here's what. This is a side note, and it's a joke. So bear with me. He's a genie. Can we just say that she gets 3
Yeah,
wishes?
that's true. I literally didn't make that connection at all. That is super
he's
funny.
Jafar. He's the red genie.
That is super funny. I love that.
So she describes to him the first person she wants dead. And it's the first person she thinks of, and it's the guy who tortures people. And that's what she says. And this guy, what's his name? Do we know?
I don't think they said his name yet.
Okay. Well, he says the guy who tortures people isn't a name. I need you to tell me what his name is.
Yeah.
And she goes, "I don't know his name, but he goes by the Tickler." And he says, "Well, that's enough." So that scene ends. And Arya's like, "What just happened?" So he
But
says,
then, like, you have to think, like, maybe she was like, this is some crazy guy, and, like, probably disregarded that to a certain extent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
she was like, "I'm going to go give this guy some water."
Right.
You're crazy.
It's like, I'm glad I saved you. Maybe I shouldn't have.
Right.
I'm going to go do this other stuff now. I have some being a hostage to do.
Right.
Like, but yeah, no, so that was interesting.
Then we come to find out that this guy isn't being weird at all. So Arya is walking. Oh, she is sitting with Gendry.
Yeah. And they're talking. She's trying to help him
Right.
practice,
He's forging this sword.
which was cute. That was a really cute scene because Gendry's just like trying to like kind of go about his business,
Right.
and Arya's like, "You're not doing that right." And he's like, "I don't need to be doing it right." And she's like, "Because I'm not fighting anyone." She's like, "Are you practicing for a fight? You should do it right."
Yeah.
And I just thought that that was really cool. And it's like once again one of those things where it's nice to see like genuine friendships just like blossoming, you know.
And here, I saw it from Gendry's point of view. I don't believe Gendry was practicing for a fight. He was forging this sword, and he was swinging it through the air to try to get the weight right.
Gotcha.
That's what I thought he was doing. Now, that could be the same thing, but I don't know if he was actually trying to, imagine somebody in front of him opposing him. And I thought he was just swinging it because he didn't have the handle on it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't put the handle on until you got the balance of.
No, that makes sense.
So that's what I thought. Now, it could have been either way, but that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, from Gendry's point of view, like, shut up. I'm over here working.
Right? It's like you're this like highborn girl who's just been hanging out in a castle her whole life.
Get out of here. This is my job. But they hear this commotion all of a sudden, and these people start screaming, and Arya and Gendry run out and they approach the crowd, and they're all kneeling down. And I immediately actually knew what just happened. I've never. That's a lie. I do remember seeing the Tickler's face in the previous episode.
Yeah.
So that probably clicked, but not immediately that I knew, oh, that's him.
But even still, like, some random person died right after that. They had talked about that.
Right. So I assumed immediately, oh, the Tickler just died.
Mm-hmm.
And Arya walks up and she confirms it visually. And then she looks around and then she looks up and sees this, the man she was just talking to. And he sticks up one finger and says, that's one. Everybody gets one.
Except
well, you get
three. Right? I love that. That is so good.
So, yeah, apparently, now here's what the show didn't show us. Whether or not there was any mystical element of this assassination.
Okay, yeah. Because, I mean, there was, like, the idea of like, okay, this guy was on the ground and he's all the way up there already and he's dead, but like there's plenty of ways he could have killed him from a long range.
And there are two other people.
Yeah.
Now, I guess let me get corrected if it's possible. The two people he was in the cage with, are they part of his group?
Or is he just... I'm not gonna say anything about that.
Because it could be that those three people were in this cage because of this collision.
Makes sense. Because also, or also it could just be like, well, that's a good point.
Now, so it could have just been one of the other two people did it, and they're just hiding somewhere.
Yeah.
Because you hear a couple of people say, "Did anyone see anything?"
Yeah.
So there was a ninja type assassin.
Yeah.
assassination that just happened. But we do see him lying on his stomach, and his neck is turned the wrong way.
Yeah. It's like brutal.
Yeah. So Arya gets confirmation basically that this is the real deal. She's got two more wishes left, and she's thinking. I love how you're calling them wishes.
So first of all, like, what do you think of the introduction of assassins? And secondly, what would you like for Arya to do with these wishes of hers?
I honestly thought Tywin would be the first.
I thought that too. Everyone in the entire world who watched the show thought that.
But then I thought, oh, the show was building up to something.
Yeah,
honestly.
no, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's
fine.
That's
okay.
But naturally, it should have been Tywin.
Yeah, or anyone more relevant.
Yeah,
like
Joffrey.
Anyone. Yeah, like anybody. It should have been someone who like a higher stakes player.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they don't want to just kill their high stakes players with a wish from a genie.
Right.
So.
Exactly. That would be hilarious. Now I'm calling. Well, they're wishes. So yeah, definitely a higher stakes player, like you said. On the flip side of that, I am interested in that guy.
Yeah.
And what he's talking about. Now, we've got all these new religions that are popping up, and Melisandre we already talked about. I can't. with her. But for some reason, this guy's more really
The red guy.
Yeah,
The red
the
guy.
red guy.
Okay.
And I think it might be because there's less fanaticism around it. Like Melisandre waxes poetic about this Lord of Light.
Yeah.
And I can't.
But like she sounds cultish.
Yeah.
Whereas
exactly.
like he just kind of sounds like some guy who.
Like
yeah.
Like,
although I mean like. His views sound very extreme too. Like, oh, you saved 3 people's lives. Now we have to kill 3 people. Again, that's pretty extreme.
Again, though, that's it. Kind of, it makes sense because I've seen and heard that type of logic before.
Yeah,
an eye for an eye, essentially, and kind of like Final Destination.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! Don't even. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So that's kind of why that makes sense.
Yeah.
This cult Melisandre's in doesn't make sense because it's nonsense to me.
Yeah, but right now, I guess to me, like what Melisandre preaches sounds more like what religion actually sounds like in our world.
Fair enough.
Whereas like what he's doing just seems a little bit more, I don't know, it seems different. But I know what you're talking about.
No,
I know
it's
exactly.
Definitely different.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. But I guess like for whatever reason, Melisandre, as crazy as what she's doing sounds, it sounds familiar to me. I think, and I think that's the only.
No, they both sound familiar. To me. I just can't get on board with that. With
I see. Yeah. I feel you. But like, so do you think that like this assassin guy will be Arya's like Melisandre?
No.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I don't believe that Arya is that foolish.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
No, let's not disrespect Arya.
But do you think that? So okay, you believe that if she were to blindly follow him, that would be foolish?
Yeah.
In the same way that Stannis is.
That's
gotcha.
nonsense.
Okay.
No.
Even though she got like, well, I mean, I guess yeah, because he just did the same thing for her that Melisandre did for Stannis.
Did Melisandre do that for Stannis?
We don't know, but we also don't know.
But we don't know that Stannis asked Melisandre to do that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Also, I mean, this guy, whoever he is, pretty much made it very clear he's not really doing it for Arya. Right. He's doing it for the Red God. Like she did something she wasn't supposed to do.
That's for him. He has to do that.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So next, we see Jon, and we see Jon north of the Wall with the Night's Watch, and they're on some sort of new mission. They're headed to Mance Rayder's camp, and I don't know if you've gathered who that is yet. Okay, because they've said it, so I think I can tell you. He's who they call the King Beyond the Wall.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So they're trying to go to his camp for some reason, and I don't know how much of that you picked up on.
So what I remember is he's amassing this army to march
yes,
south.
Exactly.
And the only reason you would do that is to invade whoever's down below you. But they want to go talk to him about, I don't know. All I know is he's becoming a menace.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. Because yeah, basically they're trying to stop his march south.
Okay.
Because it's not that he's necessarily after the Night's Watch, but he has to go through the Night's Watch, and the Night's Watch is there. Like their purpose is to keep the wildlings out, among other things. And speaking of other things, we talked about that in this episode. Like they were talking about the horn blowing and how 1 is for allies,
2 is for enemy, and 3 is for White Walkers.
I thought, okay, yeah, 1 is for Rangers returning, and I think you said 2 is for wildlings is what it is, and then 3 is for White Walkers. Right. So that gives you a little bit more context on how how the wall is structured and what their like biggest threats are, pretty much. But it was interesting because we haven't really gotten much White Walker talk in a while, except for the revelation about what Craster was doing.
Right.
Okay, so now I want to talk about Bran, because this is another one of those really good moments with Bran. I don't know if you saw it the same way as I did, but I really liked this scene more than the last scene that we had with him, where he was being Lord of Winterfell. Because in this scene, someone comes in, and the last time he was kind of trying not to listen to it. He didn't really care, and he just kind of wanted these people to shut up. But this time, this guy comes in, and he needs help because like most of his sons have gone to help fight Robb, and he doesn't have anyone helping. Fight with Robb, yes.
I think you said help fight Robb.
Yeah. Fight Robb's war.
Right.
And so it's interesting because like Bran is like, okay, yeah, like we need to send you some people. I'll give you 2 orphan boys, and they'll come and help you. So we're seeing Bran like making these like small decisions that are going to be big for like the continuation of peace in Winterfell.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like he's like even though like his family's at war, like, and he's still like literally like 11 or something like
Right.
that. Like he's really stepped up and like shown that he can actually like take care of this
Mm-hmm.
place. And another thing, after that guy leaves and he gives him those 2 orphan boys, this other person comes in and says that there has been an attack on Torrhen Square,
Yep.
I think is what it was called. And we see Bran like really kick into gear, kind of in the same way that Rob did when like Ned died.
Right.
When like everything had to change for him. Actually, no, when Ned got captured was when Rob changed.
Mm-hmm.
But we see Bran and we see him like react very appropriately, I think. And Maester Luwin tells him like, "Hey, you might be being a little hasty trying to like go and send people to fight
Right.
these people down here." But Bran makes a good point of like, if we can't protect our own people, why should they protect us? And I thought that that was like a bit of like what's the word, a bit of like compassion toward the common people.
Mm-hmm.
That like we don't see from really anybody. Like even, I mean, Ned and Catelyn care about the people, but like we saw them mostly having to deal with political situations. But like it was interesting to see, to have Bran, who was like the second to youngest Stark, say, yes, we need to protect like all of the small people in our town, because
Right.
why would they care about us either way? Like we might be royalty, but what does that matter
Mm-hmm.
if we aren't protecting the people that like are following us?
Right.
So I thought that that was really interesting, and that showed like a lot of like not even really growth, but just like it just showed a lot of who he was despite what he's going through.
Sure.
Because we do have to remember that he's still coping with being a cripple, and he's still like he's coping with being a cripple, the loss of his father, and just his family being scattered to the wind. But he was still able to like have this compassion for like even the lowest people in his society,
Right.
which I thought was cool.
Before I talk about Bran and everything you just addressed, I want to talk about Rickon.
Oh, okay.
So he's sitting next to Bran,
Yeah.
and he's smashing these walnuts into the table, and he's sitting where Bran sat
Yeah.
the last time when he was digging into that table.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because Bran does to Rickon what Master Lewin didn't do to Bran.
Oh, okay.
And that was tell him to shut up.
Yeah.
And to stop
And
being
to
so
stop
loud.
digging into the
Yeah.
table and stuff. Yeah.
So I thought that was also an interesting thing to show, that Bran's like, hey man, we're trying to do official business
Yeah.
here, and you're being a child, basically.
Yeah.
Like, calm down. So I thought that was interesting to show that same situation, and then him taking action in that point too, to also say, don't do that. Now, when Bran sends those people out to help, what's that place called?
Torrhen Square.
Torrhen Square. Here's what I found interesting about that. The person who alerts him to this says, we need 200 men to go out there.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've got 200. I can gather 200, and I can take them out.
Yeah.
And Maester Lewin says, do you need that many? And then Bran says what you were saying. Take out however many you need. Now, to me, I do appreciate that the action that he took. However, does he need 200?
Yeah.
Is 150 enough?
Okay.
Because what if they are overpowered there, and then they come to this village or wherever, and there's 0 people to defend them there? So, and he says it's 49 leagues away or something like that.
Oh, so you're saying what if he sends too many people away from Winterfell
Yeah.
and they don't have enough people?
Right.
Ah, I see.
So
you think that that might have been what Maester Lewin's concern was?
I think that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
Don't send that many out there.
Yeah.
Don't send all of them out
Yeah.
there. So what I'm curious what the repercussions will be for that difference in opinion as far as what the strategy should
That
be.
makes sense. So you think that might have been a moment where he may have needed to listen to his counselor instead of gotcha.
I think this might be a learning moment for him. Like, you did the right thing, but you didn't think it through all the way.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, that's actually really interesting, and I'm glad that like you appreciate these moments with Bran, because like a lot of people, I think I told you this already. He wasn't. Bran's not like the most well received character
Oh
from the
my,
audience.
Brand's my boy.
I love Bran. I mean, I will say like the first time through I didn't like Bran as much, but it was really just because I wasn't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like with certain other character stories, I just like wasn't interested.
Right.
I think that there's a difference. But yeah, no, like everything that's going on with Bran, I just find to be incredibly compelling. Like he is the like central. Actually, I can say this. He's the Stark in Winterfell. Like
Right.
Rob tells him that before he leaves,
Mm-hmm.
and so like it's interesting to see how literally, except for Rickon, like literally every Stark is gone. So
Mhm.
he's just like holding down the fort right
Right.
now, and he's not really doing a bad job of it so far. So
Right.
I just think that that's really fascinating. Next thing that happens with Bran, and we don't need to talk too much about this, but he is talking to Osha, the wildling, about his dreams again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's asking her about like what do they say about the three-eyed raven north of the wall? Like, can you tell me about this stuff? Because like I'm experiencing something and you know what it is or
Right.
something about it and you're just not telling me. And so it's interesting to see that like you wonder, is she trying to protect him by not telling him stuff, or there's something malicious about the
Mhm.
fact that she isn't telling him things? Like it's kind of interesting to ponder that. But then he also tells her about this dream that he just had and how he saw that the sea came to Winterfell and water was crashing over the gates and all of this stuff. Like there were drowned people. I think he said, I'm not sure who he said he
His
saw.
handler.
Was it Maester Lewin?
No, the guy carrying him.
Oh no, it's not. It wasn't Hodor.
I think it was somebody who was right there.
Yeah, it was the guy with the beard. I think is who he was
Gotcha.
talking about. I just don't remember what his name was. But yeah, he says that he saw all these dead bodies in the yard. So like, just let's talk about that dream and let's talk about his questions to Osha.
So as far as the dream, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that's clearly an allegory for there's a war coming.
Oh,
And
okay.
that sea is an army.
Gotcha.
And the drowned people are just dead people. After hearing about this dream, Osha
Yeah.
has a very noticeable reaction to him saying these things, and she kind of scurries off. She's like,
Yeah.
I need to go. I gotta go give these potatoes to whomever.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to tell him what the Raven is trying to tell him about in this dream. And Bran is like, "Hey, I just told you about this nonsense that was in my head. What does it mean? What does this Raven mean?" And Osha says the sea is really far away. That's nonsense, essentially. And Bran goes, "Yeah, no. That's why I'm asking you what this means."
Yeah.
And she's like, I gotta go. Bye. So the show is at least hinting at Osha maybe knowing something.
Yeah.
And she isn't spilling the beans just yet.
Yeah. And that's why I was wondering if like you thought that it was a malicious thing or a benevolent thing.
Oh, it's benevolent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Let's go across the sea and talk about Daenerys finally. So we see her inside of the walls of Karth, and she is cleaned up. Like they don't look like they've been starving in the Red Waste, so that's really good. But we see her with her handmaidens. One of them is the one that Viserys bought,
Right.
and the other one is just one of that really loyal Dothraki girl who was like her first handmaiden from Drogo.
And the one who was she was consoling about that guy.
Yeah,
dying.
exactly. And the one who tried to stop her from picking up the dragon egg
Right.
or whatever. And so so she's been there from the get-go. And we see them feeding the dragons who are in fact alive.
Yep.
So that's good. I was glad that I'm glad that you got the confirmation quickly that they weren't actually dead. Because it was funny to me that like your mind went there, but your mind has been going a lot of places.
It's all over the place.
Like
they're dead. It's like, I can't show you. Don't worry about it though. I'm the mother of dragons. We're just gonna come in.
I think it was more of like, this is my only bargaining chip, and I don't want to let them get anywhere near it.
And that comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we see them talking about that, and we see that Zarandoxis, I'm not going to call him Duck Sauce, we see that he has given her this dress.
Yep.
And the dress is basically like a welcome gift to Karth. And they tell her that she needs to wear it to this event that they're having, or else that it would be rude. Then we see Jorah be approached by this masked woman. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
This masked woman says, that's the mother of dragons. Are you her handler? He says, no, I'm her protector. And the woman says, no, you're not. She needs actual protectors, especially right now. Didn't know why. And she didn't say why. She just rode off into the darkness. It was daylight, so that was a joke. She just walks away. So there's this woman who has this scarf over her face and then a metal mask over her face. And she's prophesizing about this threat that is approaching and headed for Daenerys. And she needs protection.
Yeah.
Because of who she is, the mother of dragons.
So what she says is, which I found to be very interesting, but she says her dragons are fire-made flesh. And when people see it, they will lust. And I thought that was really interesting because it wasn't necessary. And like we kind of see it playing out immediately with this marriage proposal that she gets. But it's interesting that she was talking about this threat, but she was saying that it was going to come in the form of like suitors or kindness or people who want her. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, people are going to be trying to murder her. That could have been part of it, but it was like
coming after her dragon.
Yeah, people want her dragons, and they're going to do whatever they have to get them. And you have to be wary of everyone who approaches her, pretty much from now on, because like even if someone wants to be her friend, it could be because they're just trying to get these dragons, So I think that's what she was saying. Now, why she was saying that Jorah was not enough, I don't know. I don't know what you thought about that, but
I didn't think anything of it.
Gotcha.
I thought. Then who?
Yeah.
Do you have somebody in mind? Is that where you went? Because you're not very helpful. So
it's interesting though, because it's like, where do you think this woman has gained this knowledge, and why do you think that she cares about what happens to Daenerys? Exactly. Oh, that's your point.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. But yeah, no, that's interesting. And I mean, so does she kind of give you Miri Masdur vibes?
No.
Oh, okay.
I have a special disdain for that character, and I don't want to talk about it. It was so dumb. You asked a question that I was dismissing in my head because I was just upset that she appeared and then went away. But then I realized she has this cloth over her face, and then this metal over her face. Has she met a dragon before and it breathes fire in her face? Did
it's
someone
possible.
throw
Wildfire, some dragon wind on
it? So it could be she met one of these dragons and like, you're not enough, buddy.
Gotcha. I see. Oh, because you think she could have some first-hand experience, or maybe she like she has shacked up with Melisandre at some point and it's like, you know what, I know about fire.
If that happens to be the case, I know it probably isn't, but I will literally stop watching the show. If I find out she knows Melisandre, I'm done.
Why would that be?
I don't know. I want Melisandre to continue being alone in everything that she does. I don't want anyone to know who she is. Because when she goes away, I just want her gone. I don't want anyone mourning her or say, oh, there, that Melisandre.
So what do you think Melisandre's shelf life on the show is?
I'm pretty sure it's probably a couple of seasons. There's just too much that she's already had her hand in for it to just end.
Yeah.
Unless this shadowy figure that she birthed was enough to carry whatever.
Like Renly's death maybe was like what needed to happen, and now she can go away. Okay. But yeah, okay, and so then lastly, we see her talking to Zarandoxis.
Yeah.
Well, and then she talks to Jorah again, so we'll talk about both of those things. But he propositions her basically, and he shows her this vault, which I couldn't help but thinking it had a bunch of Disney movies in it.
Right.
Like, But like literally that what's in there is like the plans for Disney
Yeah,
Plus.
I like it.
But no, like he shows her this vault and he says that, and she asks for all of it, and he's like, okay, literally we just met. Like I know we're getting married, but like
Yeah.
you can get half. So I just
That was literally the first ever divorce. It was amicable at that point. You can have half. Okay.
It was just really funny, like the, but also just like, it was interesting to me, and I know Daenerys is desperate. I know she just got out of the desert, but like for someone who like didn't want to even show someone her dragons just an episode ago, she's thinking about marrying someone she just met.
It's different.
I mean, I know there's an advantage to it, but like
that's the difference.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's just like she needs to, and this is what she talks about with Jorah, but like she needs to understand that like people aren't going to give her something for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that if she marries this guy, takes him to Westeros, what does that make him? King? So like she has to think about these things.
And that's the conversation she has to have.
Yeah.
She does have with Jorah,
Yeah.
but at that moment, in the heat of the moment, she's like, "Oh, I need ships.
Yeah.
I need an army."
Yeah, and that's what I just didn't want her to think so short-sighted, but yeah.
No.
And like for her, she needed to, even if she was going to entertain that, she needed to not be so open to it in front of him immediately. She needed to like let him think that he needed to convince her, you know?
You know what's interesting? Her brother is Varys, or Viserys.
Yeah.
You know what he was like? Just like that. So
like
I'm
the
not
guy?
surprised. No,
Or
like her.
her?
Decision making.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Sold her off to the Dothraki people.
Yeah.
For something he
wasn't
gonna get.
Yeah.
So he didn't know what he was doing either.
That's super interesting. Oh, wow. You just compared Daenerys to Viserys, and
Their
that is
actions
not.
are very similar in this case. You can't deny it.
I'm just saying that's a rough one.
It is.
People are gonna be sorry, guys. But anyways, yeah. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that conversation before we talk about her and Jorah?
I thought so. Here's where I thought the conversation was going. I thought he wanted her to have the dragons melt the door.
Oh.
I don't know why.
Well, it's his vault.
Right. So.
Oh, that was the challenge.
Yeah.
There. Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
yeah.
The challenge was, hey, if you can open this door,
yeah,
then I'll give you everything that's in it. And he was telling her how strong the door was, and he swiped at it with his sword.
Yeah.
It's like, this can't be opened. The only thing that can open it is this key I have around my neck.
Yeah.
So I thought, because the 13 still hadn't seen the dragons, I thought he was like, oh, hey, bring those dragons down here.
Okay.
Open this door.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, no, that's super interesting. Yeah, I don't really know what she was thinking, but that is a really interesting way to put it. Of like, oh, like you're the first person I've come across with dragon fire. Let's see if you can pass the challenge or whatever. That's super interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I like Daenerys a lot, especially in this season, and so for her to be making Viserys like moves is like bothering me a little bit.
But she does get the sense talked into her from Jorah, and he says the things that you said. You could do this. You could get this army. You could get these boats, sail across the sea, but you didn't get that for nothing.
Yeah.
You have to understand that you owe him something for this, and you don't really want that. There are allies who can help you with your conquest. They're just in Westeros.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go find you a ship and a captain that I trust,
and
we'll put you on that boat, and you can go over there,
and we'll get allies there.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
like also, I want to talk about her reaction to Robert's death.
Yeah.
Because that was that hastiness I found to be understandable, because that was something that she had kind of been waiting for. I think her whole life, and she saw that. She not only did she hear that that Westeros has descended into chaos, basically, that there are multiple kings fighting for the throne. She also knows that means she needs to be one of these kings fighting for the throne.
Right.
Two, she needs to be over there, like in the middle of everything. And lastly, that if, and I don't know, even with all of my knowledge of her, I don't know if I believe that she cares about Westeros any more than she cares about the Dothraki,
Mm-hmm.
or she just wants the Iron Throne. I can't
Right.
really tell. And so, but anyways, like, it's interesting to see that she has heard that, like, war has broken out in her world, in her home that she needs to get back to. So not only does she want to go home, she might think, oh, I need to go home to save Westeros from itself because they're all fighting each other right now.
I don't think that's it at all.
Gotcha.
I think that she's happy that her dad's murderer is dead.
Yeah.
And she wants to go sit on the throne that belongs to her now.
Gotcha. So you don't want to give her that credit then.
No.
Gotcha.
Now, Jorah does say she has a warm heart and she'll
Yeah.
be loved, but that's not what her mindset is right now.
Gotcha.
I think so we talked about vengeance with Rob and with Arya and with Sansa. I think that, and she even says it in the previous episode, she's on this conquest to take back what was taken from her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to burn down villages and slaughter entire peoples to get it back. I think that's what she wants. And now that the one thing that may have stood in her way is now gone, Robert,
yeah,
it's going to be easier for her to do this now.
Ah, I see.
So that's what I feel.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, the way that you perceive Daenerys at this point is not how I perceived her.
Enough.
Like, I saw her and I was like, oh yeah, she really wants to go save Westeros. Like, she wants to make Westeros great
she
again.
She mentions Robert as the usurper.
Yeah.
So she hates this man.
But I mean, but still,
no, she's excited that he is dead.
No. I totally understand that. But like, just the fact that she thinks of him as a usurper doesn't mean that she doesn't want what's best for Westeros.
So I think that still may be a part of what she wants to do, but it's like 15% of what she wants to do. She really is excited Robert's dead.
Gotcha.
And can now sit on the throne.
Also, does it sting a little bit to hear him called the usurper? It's funny to hear that because it's like, we really liked Robert. We really got to know Robert better than I'd say we know her at this point. I mean, we've seen her doing a lot of stuff, but we don't really know what she's all about yet,
No, only because I understand that's what they mean. That's what he means to them.
Yeah.
So, just like, and I don't necessarily like Jaime, but I'm not rah-rah-rahing about calling him the Kingslayer. I'm not saying that's unfair.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
Because he did do that. Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting to see how Daenerys wants these allies, but at the same in Westeros, mm-hmm. but at the same time, well, it's interesting because like Daenerys kind of, she sees Westeros and everyone there as these people she needs to conquer, whereas Jorah is trying to get her to understand, no, they're people you need to be friends with. Mm-hmm. Like, they're people you need to, like, win over. You need to go there and kill them. So...
Yeah, go over there and rule them.
Yeah.
Rule these kingdoms. Don't burn them.
So, yeah, but it's good that we have Jorah by her side, though. Was there anything else in the episode that you think we missed?
No.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you guys next time for episode 6.